What's up everybody? Simon here. Today we're going to talk about Jiu Jitsu. That's right. This is a white belt. This is a blue belt. We're going to talk about my journey from white belt to blue belt and what you should know and kind of what you should expect, as well as some of my tournaments that I competed in and so forth, and how it's been a fun journey. So let's get into that video. I hope you guys enjoy it and don't make fun of me. Let's do it. All right, so the white belt. This one has 4 stripes. I did wash my belt. A lot of people said don't wash your belt, but sometimes these things end up smelling. This is actually a nicer brand belt. It's thicker. But anyway, I've had this thing for almost 3 years. I started doing jiu-jitsu in February of 2021. It was a time where I was getting out of shape. At the same time, I was looking for something to do and I needed something to distract my mind. Now, before that, I did Krav Maga for several years, maybe close to 5. And Krav Maga, I don't know if you guys know this sport. Krav Maga has a lot of aggression, distance. There's a lot of self-defense techniques. It's not really a sport where you can, compete with someone else. And I don't think there are competitions for Krav Maga like there are BJJ tournaments or Jiu-Jitsu tournaments. So overall, Krav Maga was very aggressive. But the problem with Krav Maga, even though it works, is once you go to the ground, you're going to be kind of helpless. And I thought that I would be able to get in a fight with anybody or compete with anybody and keep my distance and be aggressive at certain times and so forth. But once the fight would go to the ground, you're helpless if someone with jiu-jitsu, even a white belt with 6 months of training, knows what they're doing. And so I decided to take jiu-jitsu, and I did it because my brother-in-laws were doing it, and I didn't want to get beat up. They told me they were doing it at a Thanksgiving dinner, and I got worried. And I started training at Ralph Gracie in San Mateo or San Francisco area, and currently I am there in San Francisco. But the journey has been something of an adventure. I've had several coaches. I've broken my thumb. I don't know if you could tell here the difference between the 2 thumbs. So that happened. Pain is part of the game, and at my age, I don't recover as fast, so I'm constantly going against a lot of younger individuals. Also, my weight. Competing at 154.5 pounds with a gi, and I think it's around 162 without a gi. It's not easy to go up against 225 pound people and so forth all the time, which I had to do, as you could see in some of these videos. Started jiu-jitsu. The first jiu-jitsu day, I was getting beat up by a girl, and I was so exhausted. I remember just laying there on her chest. Luckily, she had a comfortable chest, and I was just done. I couldn't move, and she was poking me like, hey, why don't you move? I was just so tired. It doesn't look like a tiring sport, but as you guys know, it's very tiring. So my advice to someone who has a white belt or is thinking of joining jiu-jitsu, I just didn't want to continue to get hit in the face, get kicked in the stomach, kicked in the legs and so forth, and some of that training that we used to do at Krav Maga. So jiu-jitsu, although you're rolling around, you're getting slammed, you're getting accidentally elbowed here and there, getting a black eye, get something broken, which happened here. We see it all the time, ACL tears. I thought it was a better sport for me at this age in time. I have been feeling like I didn't get promoted in time, and I think that's a lot of people's feelings. Like, for example, at white belt, if you're tapping a purple belt or a blue belt, I've even tapped a black belt before many times, and different black belts, or they haven't been able to tap me and it's a stalemate. That's not what it's about, is what I learned. You're gonna have good days and bad days. Weight is a big thing in jiu-jitsu, and people will tell you it's not. But the truth of the matter is weight and strength is a big thing. Strength will compensate for technique. Weight will compensate for technique. The very best, and I'm not a professional at it, can be small and still beat their opponent. by constantly moving, having incredible stamina. And stamina is one thing I'll stress in Jiu Jitsu or Krav Maga or boxing or anything else. In fact, check out the Ideal Hour podcast. I have a Jiu Jitsu guy on there, and now we're going to have a boxer that was a WBC champion coming on as well to talk about boxing. But stamina is a big factor in Jiu Jitsu. So do your cardio, do your assault bike, do the elliptical, do the speed bike, whatever, just to make sure your cardio's up. I feel like when my cardio is at its peak, I'm able to compete with pretty much anybody. When it's at a low point or I'm in my sixth roll that day and the cardio's just not there, I'm like a dead fish and they could do whatever they want. So the transition from white belt to a blue belt is just a color, but to me it's even more than that. I feel like the blue belt is a sign, and some say it is the hardest belt to get. Again, I'm not a professional. Some people say the white belt is the hardest belt to get because no one starts or they never start jiu-jitsu. I tend to disagree. I think you could go to your first class, you're going to be a white belt in jiu-jitsu, whether you keep going or not. You're not going to get to this level. It took me 3 years. There are people that have gotten their black belts in MMA in 3 years. There are people that have gotten their black belts in 8 years, in 5 years, and so forth. For me, it took me 3 years to get my blue belt because I don't train every day. I can only go 2 to 3 days a week, if that, if I'm lucky. You know, I have kids and so forth, and life gets in the way. So for me, it's been a journey to get this belt. I've won a competition. I thought I would get promoted. I didn't get promoted. You know, in that competition, when I competed against an individual that was a bit younger than me, that had more stripes than me on his belt, that had a better takedown game, I just wasn't going to lose, and that's the mentality you got to have. So don't give up if you get your white belt, or keep going. You know, they say the difference between a white belt and a black belt is you're a white belt that never quit and you became a black belt. Just because you're a black belt doesn't mean you're an excellent fighter out there. You are dangerous, but, you know, when people get punched, jiu-jitsu in a certain form is not as realistic or is not as lethal as people think. You know, you can hold someone's legs, but if someone's hitting you in the face, you're going to naturally try to block it. And that's the difference between Krav Maga, when I was so aggressive coming into a mat roll and really trying to dominate my opponent, and they were so laid back and using the weight and energy against me. I had to transition to understand the different positions. But, you know, just keep going. That's the way to get a blue belt. You keep going and eventually you'll get promoted, and you'll get promoted to purple. Are all blue belts deserving of blue belts? It depends who you ask. Like, there are blue belts that are older individuals that really can't move as good as a 20-year-old white belt or a 25-year-old white belt that's strong, that used to be an athlete, etc. So each belt color is a significant journey in my mind. It doesn't mean that you're any better than the color below you or the belt below you or the belt above you, etc. So it's just a journey. My journey particularly was about getting this blue belt. One thing I will say, the difference between a white belt and a blue belt for me was the fact that people would come in and be a white belt and stand in the same line as I would stand while I was doing it for years, right? And it just kind of felt like I felt more advanced than they were, but it felt like there's no appreciation or no reward showing that you've been doing this for a while. So you could do something for 3 years and be ranked the same way a new member comes in. And to me, that was a little bit something mentally I had to get over and say, listen, your time will come. Once I got the blue belt, lining up in line was a little bit weird. It was different. You're lining up towards the front of the line in some of these beginner fundamental classes where purple belts and brown belts and black belts don't go. You're starting to see the white belts that were, you know, doing the pre-warm-ups, no longer doing warm-ups in blue belt level. That was funny. Luckily, my instructors now, Tay Crivello and Half Gracie and some of the other instructors at the gym, you know, they keep us going. They keep us motivated. They keep us focused on the moves, not on trying to kill each other. And I think that's beneficial. So if you're trying to get into jiu-jitsu, or if you've been in it and you're trying to get promoted, understand that you're learning. One thing I had to overcome in jiu-jitsu is there are days I would come in and I swear I felt like I could beat almost anybody in that gym or the people I rolled with. I would be like 5 for 7 matches. I got the tap and so forth. And then there are days I would come in and I would get annihilated by a white belt that's only been doing it for 3 months, by a bigger white belt, and so forth, by a blue belt, a purple belt. There are days where people are like, dude, you turned it on. And then there are days that I felt I turned it off. So jiu-jitsu is not about maybe always dominating. And there are people in class that will always dominate. And you got to pick who you roll with because you don't want to get injured. But overall, it's just a journey of belt colors. And it's a journey of recognition. And I think getting a blue belt, which I got recently, you get recognized for committing to the sport. And I think it's a good way for them to keep you going and coming and coming. My mind's on the purple belt. I already got a competition up and lined up. So for competition, while we're on that topic, I've competed 3 times as a white belt. I've competed in no-gi and gi, and I've done fairly well. I've competed in the adult division, even though I'm 40 years old. I've competed in the Master 2 division, and now I'm going to be competing in the Master 3 division, which are just different age groups. I've competed in heavier weight, so I weigh about 150 or so pounds, and I've competed in the 168, and that was very difficult because even a slightest 15-pound increase in weight at a full-blown competition, for me, with the same skill set, maybe, or same skill level, was difficult, and I lost. I actually got injured. My left elbow got injured in an arm bar, and the guy couldn't feel the tap because of all the adrenaline, and I couldn't lift a 2-pound weight for like 6 months. So if you do go to a competition, my advice is, 1, understand the point system. 2, understand that you have to hold position to get your points. 3, go there before your competition, maybe the competition before the one you sign up for, to take a breath in to realize how it all works, that you may have to tie a secondary belt around you, that you may have to wear an ankle bracelet. These are things that may mess you up during competition. Understand how people warm up. People go with coaches and teams. I was lucky to be coached during my one win with a great instructor named Hanan. He coached me very well, and I didn't blow it out of the water, but I wasn't going to lose. So overall, you got to understand those things, and I recommend you go to a competition to experience it prior to actually competing. For competition, cardio. If you're going to be competing, you better hit that treadmill. No classes or no warm-ups are really going to prepare you for a competition the way that cardio that week or month will prepare you. The better the cardio, the more chances you have to win 2, 3, 4 matches in a row. That's kind of my advice. Of course, be careful, stay safe, and understand that you're going full blast in competition and you could get hurt. As a blue belt, I noticed people get jealous, the white belts. People try to kill you as a blue belt. And I do see that people that you roll with take you a little bit more seriously, because that just shows that you've been doing it for a few years, and at the same time they may not go as easy on you, and that's been happening in my gym as well. Some people still don't want to roll with you because of whatever reasoning. I've seen other colored belts also not want to roll because they don't want to get beat by either a blue belt or white belt. So that's kind of the struggle with the different color belts and pride. I personally get tapped all the time. I do like tapping people. But for me, the biggest challenge has always been cardio. I think once my cardio is up, then everything else falls in line, and I'm able to be proactive. I'm able to move better. I'm able to position myself better to choke someone out or get them in an arm bar or, a guillotine, loop choke, Ezekiel chokes, baseball bat chokes. You name it. There's so many leg locks and ankle locks and calf slicers, whatever your go-to is. And tell me below if you're training, what I'm talking about. Tips for a white belt looking to get into a blue belt: be patient, right? You got to be patient. That's the number one thing. If you're not patient, you're not going to get it. Second tip is don't quit. That's why I say the hardest belt to get is the blue belt. I think the coolest belt to have, or the most important belt to have, is the purple belt. I feel like the purple belt is the belt where you're like, whoa, not only have you been doing this for years, but you're really skilled at your game. You understand the moves. You're basically a black belt that's going to be polishing his skills for the next several years. Purple belts to me come off, and I've rolled with some incredible purple belts where I stood no chance. Purple belts to me come off as the most important belt and probably the belt that I would enjoy the most. So I hope to keep the purple belt for the longest time if I'm ever honored to be promoted to one. Blue belts to me just show that you've been going for a long time. You're finally acknowledged. You're not a novice. You're not a veteran, but you're someone that's committed to an extent and should continue training. So consistency is key. Continue training from white belt. Keep going. Keep showing up. Try to compete. I thought it helped me get a blue belt. I thought I would get a blue belt after I won a competition at BJJ Tour where Mark Zuckerberg also competed. But that wasn't the case, and that's okay. So I had to just keep going and finally got acknowledged. Stretching. Stretching for my old self, very important. Stretch your hip flexors. Warm up before. During a competition, also try to warm up or jog or do jumping jacks before you engage. Now, my mindset has always been I have to stay ready because of self-defense and that type of thing. So I'm not the type of guy that needs to understand that I have to have 5 minutes of stretching or warm-up to get at it and go full blast. Your body, your mindset, and your martial arts skills should be ready to fight anybody at any point in time. So you should be able to go at all times and control your breathing and etc. But stamina plays a big role. Stretch and work on your cardio. Keep moving is a big technique. Oftentimes we're stuck at a move as a white belt and we're holding the hand and trying to get a kimura, or we're trying to get that one choke that's just not there. Guys, comment below if you know what I'm talking about, if you've been there, and you waste so much energy burning out your muscles just holding that position when that position's not going to take you to the finish line. Got to move to the next position, plan it out. As a blue belt, what I notice is I'm starting to set more traps. What that means is I lead my opponent to where I want them to be at a certain given time or in a certain position so that I could take advantage of the next move. They say skill over strength. I will say yes. Our instructor, who will come on the Ideal Hour podcast, he's a very well-known black belt in the Bay Area. He trained with Kurt Osiander, a Ralph Gracie black belt. Hopefully he comes on the podcast. Hopefully Ralph Gracie comes on one day at the Ideal Hour. You guys could check it out. But he doesn't weigh much. He's like 140 or so pounds. But he's like, I could put that 140 pounds at a certain angle on a certain body position of yours and you won't be able to move. So can he totally dominate? I think so. But strength does help. When you're in a bad position, I think strength helps. I've been on top of somebody, but because I weigh much less and they're big and strong, they would just bench press me off. And that's just the name of the game. I think strength and size play an important role in jiu-jitsu. Comment below if you agree. Here's a tip. Leave your ego at the door. Leave it at the door. If you didn't get promoted, you think you're better than someone, they got promoted, leave it at the door. Go at your own journey. Again, just because someone got promoted to this color belt from this color belt doesn't make this person a better jiu-jitsu person than this person. I've seen white belts tap blue belts. I've been tapped by white belts before. And overall, and I'm a new blue belt and I've been tapped by white belts while being a white belt a lot. But just leave your ego at the door. This isn't a fight. It's a sport. We're not here to kill each other. And that's kind of the goal of jiu-jitsu, is just to understand the sport itself, experience injuries, build friendships, and so forth. If you have a good instructor, that's the best thing ever. If you have a great instructor, they love to teach you and they want to see you improve. So trust the instructor. Finally, advice for any white belt out there, even a blue belt, roll more. If you could go to open mats in different locations. I've went to so many open mats in different places. You can see it on my Instagram at Simon, I know. But I've been to all types of gyms that have open mats that are receptive to me coming in. And a lot of them around here are all kind of interconnected and everybody knows each other. But I get to roll with new bodies, and new bodies bring different perspectives. I learned last week, just rolling at an open mat, how to break a grip in a different kind of way and how to position yourself to sweep in a different kind of way from a black belt. That was a lieutenant in the police department. And overall, go to open mats and roll. And when you roll, I've been learning to do this myself. Don't take breaks. Just keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling until you're done for the day. If you take a break and you try to go back, it's not the same. Don't take breaks. Just roll 5 in a row and then call it a day. Don't think you could roll again, etc. As you get older, that break kills you. It kind of slows or cools your body down. So I don't recommend it, and I've noticed that as well. So there you have it, folks. I've been a white belt for nearly 3 years. I've competed 3 times. I won once. I got 3rd place one time, and then I didn't win anything one time in a local jiu-jitsu tournament. So overall, doesn't matter if you win. I think it's cool. I hope to compete in IBJJF one day and really try to put the belt to the test. I do have a couple competitions coming up. I'll maybe do a video on those. Comment below if you'd like me to do them, because this isn't a jiu-jitsu channel and I'm not a professional, and you guys may not want to hear about it. But I thought I'd share it because I think it is a great sport mentally. I think it's a great sport for your physical development. But overall, it's just a great sport for self-defense as well at any given situation. I feel like I could not only now fight with somebody standing up, kick and punch and distance and block and kind of maintain control standing up enough to get out of the scene or run away or to get my opponent. But also now if the fight goes to the ground after 3 years or so in training, I know how to get a dominant position to choke the opponent out, etc. For me, chokes rule. I think they're better than leg locks because they apply to the self-defense world a lot more. When you can choke someone out and have them pass out, it's a little bit more important than you're telling them that you're going to break their ankle and actually not do it, and they get up and harm you. So chokes, if you can focus, do darces and anacondas and chokes of that nature. And for me, I love practicing in both gi and no gi, because one time we were playing around and I was able to choke someone with their jacket. Without gi, that's not an option, but in a real street life scenario, they may be wearing a jacket or a collared shirt. That's game for you to take them out. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I haven't made this video. I've been wanting to for a long time, but that's my journey from white belt to blue belt. And it wasn't easy. And there was, again, often times where I felt like I was passed up watching someone else get promoted that I know I could beat. And just wasn't my time. Be patient. You're going to get your blue belt and you're going to keep going. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. And check out the Ideal Hour podcast where we do talk about jiu-jitsu. There's a jiu-jitsu purple belt whose dad is a black belt on there. He competes all over the world. We've done an episode already. In fact, it was my first podcast. It's the Ideal Hour. And then there's black belts coming on the podcast as well to talk about their journeys of world champion boxer coming on, and a lot of the martial arts that individuals that we'll get on in the future. So I hope you watch those as well. Thanks for watching.